All right, y'all. We have Coach Chris Monroe here today. One of the most interesting people that I personally know. He dabbles in sports wagering. He does the EYBL circuit, has a card shop, and really just one of the most interesting people that I've ever met. So we're gonna start by getting into the EYBL stuff, but first I'm gonna let Chris kind of tell who he is. A quick background, what he does for work.
Yeah, no doubt. As Drew said, I'm Chris. I live in Alabama. I've been coaching basketball now. This is my 20th year to coach basketball. So a little bit about me first, personally, I guess. I'm married. I got 3 boys. All my boys are adopted. And I'll tell you a little bit, kind of actually basketball ties into my boys, actually all 3 of them. So I'll kind of go into that of how that all ties in too. But I currently now coach high school basketball here in the Birmingham area at Pelham High School. Got a really good group this year. Tournament and have a really good chance to go deep into the playoffs. So we have a good team. A little bit about kind of where I started with basketball. So I graduated high school, and the very first year after I graduated high school, I started coaching with my high school team because my senior year we made it to the Final Four, had a big run. So when I went to junior college, I actually started coaching while in junior college with my high school team. There shortly after I got into the AAU circuit. My first team, I started actually coaching girls. It was I want to say it was a 6th grade girls team is where I got into it. And then my second year, I started coaching a girls and a boys team. So my boys team was pretty good. We fell under the umbrella of a team called the Birmingham Storm, which was pretty popular back in the day. DeMarcus Cousins played for us. Okay. So we had a pretty big following.
When starting that, was that AAU? Was that just AAU and that was kind of smaller tournaments?
That's right. Yeah. So we just did the smaller tournaments. Yeah. And what I wanted to do when I started my young team is I wanted to carry them through all the way through high school. So my idea was, hey, let's get a team in the 7th grade and let's build a program based off that team. And then every team that we would bring on would be younger than that team. So as I would bring on teams, they would be younger than my main group. So that was my idea of that. And that first team that I had, I started in 7th grade with them, and they were the class of 2012. That was their graduating high school year class. That was my first AAU team. Every kid on that team signed a basketball scholarship to play.
Was it a bunch of D1? I'm about to say, was it a bunch of D1 or D2 kind of spread out?
Yeah. So my first year, we were better than probably any other team I've ever coached, but prospect wise, it wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a bunch of blue collar guys. My highest guy on that team was 6'9", and he went to Arkansas to play basketball. He transferred his senior year, went to Middle Tennessee. No, it wasn't bad at all. He transferred his senior year to Middle Tennessee, was conference player of the year his senior year at Middle. And he's probably making, way more money than I am playing in France right now.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so that was my first group. So that's kind of how it started. So fast forward a little bit, because what happened is I basically did the same thing all over. So after that team, okay, I took another 7th grade team, okay, and I went all the way through with them. And so this was the team that kind of put me on the map, I guess I would say, as one of the college coaches still to this day will tell you it was probably the best AAU team they've ever seen, just based on the talent that I had.
Was this some NBA players on this team?
This was the NBA players. This team, I had Wendell Carter Jr., I had Herb Jones, I had Austin Wiley, Garrison Brooks, Alex Reese, and we were just loaded.
We talked about that. I think when I saw you Culture Collision, we talked about Austin Wiley, and that was the one kid I've played against who made me feel like a small child. I think when he was a sophomore, he played me. I was a senior. He's a sophomore. 6'10", 250.
Yep.
Yeah,
he lived he lived in the weight room when he got to high school. Oh. So like he bulked up and
I know.
Like, just veins were popping out. Veins were popping out.
He was 12 years old, like windmilling on me. I was like, this isn't possible.
So a fun fact real quick about Austin. His mom was on the Olympic team that played in the Olympics, and I think she won a bronze medal. She won a silver or bronze medal, but she was an All-American at Auburn. Her jersey is actually retired.
So that's why he went up to Auburn to start with.
That's right.
100%. Right. So was that kind of your last group, or are you still involved in that right now?
Yeah, so that was my 2017 was my last group. So my wife and I, we had fertility issues for years and years and years. So our two youngest boys, we actually adopted. So I actually got out of coaching because I wanted to focus my time and efforts on them.
100%.
And because it was hard. Yeah, and because it was hard because we were fostering them at first, and it was really tough at first. So I got out and I got back, and I had coached high school ball all throughout those years too. Okay. But I got back into high school coaching last season. This is my second season back into high school.
Right. Well, I think one thing that not a lot of people can like fully appreciate is when you say you're coaching, people think it's a 2-hour a day commitment at most, or you're busy on the weekends. But as you said, you had to take a step back, because when you're coaching, it really is 24 hours a day. I mean, even if you're in the gym, a couple hours a day, maybe 6 hours a week for AAU, EYBL, but your weekends from Friday to Sunday, you're going from Friday at probably 2 p.m. when you drive or fly out, then you're going all the way till 10 p.m. that night, then you're getting back home Sunday at 1 a.m. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think a lot of people can really appreciate that, because when you take a step back, I mean, that definitely hurts you, but you definitely took something that's a little more important to you.
No doubt. And, and people don't understand too, like AAU gets a bad rap. And for a lot of reasons, it probably could, it should.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a lot of good people in the sport. There's a lot of people that truly care about the kids and that will really go above and beyond to take care of those boys like they're their own,
Right.
And so, but you're right. It's not only is it a huge time commitment, but for me, it was a huge financial commitment. My son is 8 years old. He plays travel soccer. He plays travel soccer at 8 years old, and it's $1,250 a year. I told these people, I said, y'all are banking. I said, look, I was taking kids out of the inner city that didn't pay me a dime.
Sponsoring.
And I'm sitting here. And I'm I'm putting $10,000, $20,000 a year of my own money into investing into these children,
Right.
And so people don't understand not just the time commitment, but the financial commitment that these coaches put into the kids.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, a lot of times it's money on top of your time commitment, because I believe EYBL gives you like 20K in charter, even about a 20K charter. But that money disappears. That's what we got.
And it disappears fast. When I was with Adidas, it was the same thing. It was 20,000. I've been with both. I've been with Nike and I've been with Adidas. When I was with Adidas, it was 20,000. And my senior year class or team, it took us $50,000 was our budget, because we would go to Vegas, we would go to Indianapolis,
Texas,
we would go to Miami.
Yep, all the places.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of money, and it's just it adds up quick when you're talking about flights all over the country.
Right. So speaking of money, this is my first interaction with you of all time. The first time I ever talked to you, I messaged you on Twitter, and I didn't fully understand the proclivity of cards yet. So you were like, hey man, I just opened up 6 cases or 5 cases, whatever it was, of 2020 Prism. And I was like, oh, he opened up 6 boxes. That's cool. That's pretty impressive. And then you sent me these pictures of like laundry tags of like the 1-of-1s of the top 3 quarterbacks. And the next time I see you at the show, you have a case where you have 3 1-of-1s of Tua, Burrow. It was Tua, Burrow, and I think Herbert. And
Herbert.
All right. Explain just kind of your thought process when you rip things, why you rip things. Do you buy stuff raw? And just kind of how all that goes. Because I don't think a lot of people understand, like you're a whale, essentially. Like 6 cases, like you don't hear about that. So just walk us through that.
Right.
Oh, am I losing you? Am I losing you?
You want to get into this hobby to make money. you don't rip your own product.
Right.
You don't open you don't open a bunch of cases or a bunch of boxes because the risk versus reward is very slim, right? It's Correct. I say if you dealt crack, if you're a drug dealer and you're smoking your own product, you're not going to make money.
Nope.
And it's the same way. It's the same way with cards. If you're ripping your product, you're not making money. But right. I say that to say I'm a collector too. So I'm a collector first, a card shop owner second. So right. When I opened the card shop, it was more of, hey, I want to do this because it's a hobby for me, and it's something that I enjoy doing. But we literally, me and a buddy of mine that's my partner in the card shop, we just said, you know what, let's just buy a bunch of Prism cases. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we just started ripping, and literally the first box I rip, I pull out a Patrick Mahomes stained glass, and I'm like, what is this? And then it gets you addicted. It's like it gets in your blood, and you're
I can't lose now.
I can't lose now. Yeah, I can't lose. Just recently I ripped. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Right. So I actually just ripped 3 cases of Topps Chrome Black baseball just because I like the encased. I like the encased autos. Yeah.
So when you open the card shop, like you said, you do it for a hobby. How do you find that balance where it's a hobby, but at the same time, I can't just sit there and rip everything. I have to balance this with some passive income. How does that look for you?
Yeah, so it's tough because I've got so many cards that I don't want to get rid of, but at the same time, if the money was right, I would, And right. So like if I go to a card shop and somebody said, or a card show and I set up and somebody's like, oh, well, the last comps on this card is 350 and you want 400. I'm like, look, you don't give me 400 for it, I'm not going to sell it.
I fought with you about this.
It doesn't hurt me.
I fought with you about this. Yeah. Well, you had a Kobe wine. I'll never forget this. I was like, the last one sold for 100. You're like, it's not leaving for more than 250. And I was like, you know what? I can understand it, but I absolutely hate you.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, I just picked up a 5 out of 5 Mike Trout Topps Chrome Ben Baller Edition auto, and it's a PSA 9. I picked it up for a great price, and I'm gonna try to sell the thing for $3,000, and right. I think that it's worth every bit of $3,000 just because it's out of 5 Trout auto, right? And if I can't sell it, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep it. It's gonna stay in my safe at the house, So. The same with the Giannis I just bought. I'll sell it, but I don't want to. Right, it's right. just, I mean, everybody always says everything's got a price, and truly everything does have a price, but it's going to be my price. It's not a price that somebody else dictates.
So with your product that you get, I know you said you rip a ton. Do you have a license?
So we don't have a license. So we get product. So that's the kicker.
That's miserable. Our
margins are so. Yeah, our margins are so slim that, that's why we didn't get in it to make money, because we knew we weren't going to have a product deal, which may help when Fanatics takes over. So maybe they'll open the door up to some new guys. But, we've got some people that we've met throughout the industry that help us out with product.
That's huge.
So it definitely works out building those relationships with guys.
Oh, what have you experienced? I mean, when did you open the card shop? What year was that opened?
January of last year. So we've been open a year.
So that's kind of the whole time that a ton of people rushed in. How has that kind of affected? You're in Chelsea, Alabama, right?
Yep. We're in Chelsea. So it's been really good. I mean, I'll tell you, my favorite thing that I see in this hobby is, I'm 38, almost 39 years old, and it was huge when I was a kid, back in the 90s. It was huge because that's when they flooded the market with baseball cards, But the best thing that I've seen in having the card shop is seeing kids come in the card shop. I'm talking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. And like we make packets. My son plays in the rec league. We make out packets of like 20 cards and give them away to all the kids after the games and stuff. Just because I want kids to be interested in it like I was interested in it when I was a kid. And we've seen a really good turnout, and that's the biggest thing that kind of warms my heart, I guess, if you would, is seeing kids come in the card shop.
Do you, kind of going back to the crack metaphor, do you feel like you're getting these kids addicted?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I hope they're not to the addiction level that I'm at with cards.
Right.
but because, you know, there are a lot of times I can't say no. You know, I just can't say no when somebody's like, hey, I have this. Well, if it's a good deal, I'm going to buy it. You know, I mean, I'm like, hey, I want that card, you know. But it's, you know, with me, I've tried to focus more now on listing a lot of my like PSA 8s, PSA 9s and stuff like that online, and just I'm becoming a snob, a card snob, where I'm just holding on to PSA 10.
Well, that's what a lot of people are doing.
Terrible, but yeah. I mean, make a little money off some and then collect what I want of the rest. You know, like I'm not going to sell my PSA 9 Tops Update Mike Trouts, but I'm going to sell my PSA 9 Louis Roberts.
I think a lot of people, I've talked to a few of my buddies about this, but the running joke has now just become sunk cost, where you just call everything a sunk cost. You're like, I've already paid for it, I've already bought it. At this point, if I sell it, I'm just happy to get rid of it. It's money. It's money I didn't have. I already spent that money, so that's new money now. So that's kind of the way I know a lot of my buddies have been looking at it. It's just kind of been a running joke, especially of subs and stuff. So I guess you said that your card shop.
Look, sometimes.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying. Sometimes you just have to take a loss. Sometimes you just got to take an L and move
People
on.
refuse to do that. People refuse to do that. They want to ride the hill to the bottom and feel upset when they get to the bottom. But like, so what you're saying about your card shop, that's not an income thing. That's not something that you're looking to make money off of. So one of your other ventures you talked about was working with a sports wagering website. How has that been? And kind of take us through the details on that as much as you want.
Yeah, so it's been good. You know, I got into managing a sports betting website here about, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, and it's gone well. You know, it gives me a little bit of extra income, honestly, to put towards cards and to put towards things that, you know, that are of interest to me, you know, that are part of my hobby. So I use that income as like supplemental income for my addiction to cards, I guess, if you would. But as you can see in the background, my day job is I actually own I call it my day job. I own a farmers insurance agency here in Alabama. And so I sell insurance. I've actually been doing that now, gosh, going on 18 years. So, so I've done the insurance thing for like 18 years too, as well. But I've been my own independent agency owner for about a year and a half.
Okay, nice. So that's going well. So do you, I guess we'll kind of wrap it up now. Do you still give back to that AAU organization? Which organization is it? And do you still give back to that?
So I started when I started, I was with Birmingham Storm, and then I moved on and I created or I joined another guy and we became Southeast Elite. So my big time kids, we were Southeast Elite.
Okay.
Then I started my very last, I think my last year with my 17 class. I moved over and started Team Carroll with Damari Carroll that played the league. Nice. I knew him. Yeah, I knew him through a friend of mine. And so when I got out, I handed Team Carroll over to another guy that actually ran it for a couple years and then just passed away. So I don't know who the new guy is that's doing it. But no, I mean, my money more or less now is tied into other charitable operations, not related to AAU basketball. And I can't count out that I'll never do it again because I like the fact of helping kids. I think I'm a little bit more financially stable now, even now than I was then. So I could probably invest even more time and money into them. But for now, I'm just doing high school. I'm loving it. Like I said, we got a really good team this year. I really think we have a chance to, if not win it all, at least get there. And so I'm really excited. We got a good guard that's really good, 6'2" guard being recruited by, you know, UAB, Sanford, mid-major level, but Good kid, great kid. And he really makes us go. He's probably averaging 25, 30 a game. So he's really good. He's really good. So just investing my time into that. Obviously, you can see as we've talked over the last few minutes. I mean, and you know me, I'm always doing something. I'm always busy. I always got my hand in something, you know? And so, so that's kind of I would have to have permission from the wife if I got back into AAU, because as you know, playing AAU, it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah. We're coaching right now. We just went from 2 teams last year. We expanded to 8. So we're going down to 12U all the way up to, I believe, 16U this year. And just literally the time you put in there is beyond crazy. I don't think a lot of people understand that, because the majority of it, you're doing it because you love it. You're doing it for the kids. And I don't think a lot100% can appreciate that. 100%. Well, Chris, I 100% appreciate it. This was Chris Monroe, venture capitalist, philanthropist, one of the great guys in the hobby. If you don't know Chris, if you haven't had a chance to talk to him, I promise you his DMs are always open. I promise you're always able to tweet him. What's your at, Chris?
So my ad is Coach C. Monroe, and I'll be at Culture Collision in Atlanta in February. That's probably my next biggest show that I'll be at.
I'll be seeing you there.
2 tables there.
Yep.
Yeah, so come by. Anybody come by, say hey. Say hey, I remember you. You're the big, ugly, bald-headed, bearded guy that talked me through. So come by, say hey. I promise you, I'll have a good story for you.
All right, Chris. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for everything you've done, and I look forward to seeing you in February.
No doubt. See you.
All right, bye.